You've probably heard many times, you need to find a therapist. Well, no, I don't like that.
Yeah, people probably tell that to you all the time.
Yeah.
No, this is a episode people have been wanting.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a common issue is people want to find a therapist, but they don't know how. And once you find potential therapists, how do you narrow it down? And so in this episode, we'll talk a bit about how to find a therapist, what are the common issues that come up with finding a therapist, and also we'll talk about our own experiences with therapy.
Yeah.
And what's worked, what hasn't worked, and we hope you enjoy. Everyone talks about you need to find a therapist. How do you find a therapist? I don't think people have concrete information on how to do that.
Yeah.
And also, once you find one, like what are the pitfalls with it? What are the green flags and red flags you look for with therapists? So This is going to be the episode where we lay out how to find one, and while you're looking for one, what are some things to look out for so you can make sure that your therapy experience is as optimal as it can be.
Yeah, because I've had good therapists, I've had bad therapists. It makes a difference.
Mm-hmm. And do you feel like you've had to move and stuff? So I imagine even when you've had good therapists, you might have had to find a new one.
Yep.
And do you feel like as time has gone on, you feel like you know what you're looking for and what you're not looking for, and kind of those green and red flags? Great. So I think we could talk about that too, because it's one thing for me to just say it from my side. I think it's always great to hear from your side too.
Great.
And just see what the patient experience is like. So I guess we could just kind of jump into it.
Yeah, because I feel like most people are just like, I don't have a therapist. I don't even know how to find one. I don't even know. So what do they do?
Yeah. So I think the first thing you look for is just figure out how you're paying. Which this is the United States, and insurance is kind of the primary thing we have to look out for. So the first thing you do is decide, am I paying with insurance or without insurance?
I do want to make a note that we're charting really well in Luxembourg.
We are. Okay.
So...
All right. We'll just go outside and just ask around.
Okay.
And you'll find one there.
Okay.
Yes. But outside of Luxembourg,
if you're in the United States.
Yes, if you're in the United States specifically, find out who your insurance provider is if you're using insurance. So if you have insurance, figure out who your company is, and you can either find a therapist directly through your insurance company, through like your insurance company's website or hotline, or you can find a therapist through many of the different websites that have directories for different therapists in your area. Some of the common ones that come up are Psychology Today and ZenCare. We'll talk about more other ones, but those are the examples of directories.
Okay.
One thing to be aware of is if you go through your insurance company, their medical website is different than their behavioral health website. So they even might have different like insurance providers within that. So like you might have Blue Cross Blue Shield for your medical insurance, but this is hypothetical, they might have Optum for your behavioral health plan. So you could Google and just say like behavioral health and write in your insurance company name, and you can see whether it is actually like your medical insurance or your behavioral health insurance.
Okay.
So that might help make it a little bit easier.
I don't think people realize that.
Yeah, I think it's an important thing to note because like, I mean, Blue Cross Blue Shield specifically, I looked into it before because I am switching jobs and we'll have Blue Cross Blue Shield. So if you type in therapist through the medical website, it's hard to find. Like, or you like, nothing shows up, but you have to type Blue Cross Blue Shield behavioral health, and then you can find like it'll link you to the psychiatrists and therapists. Okay. So I think that's like an important thing to look out for if you're going through your insurance company. So those are your two options: go through your insurance provider or look through some of the directories.
But what if you don't have insurance?
If you don't have insurance, like a lot of people in the United States, there's a few options. You can look for sliding scale therapists. Some of them offer it. Like if you look on their website, it'll say sliding scale, meaning they'll adjust their rates based on your income. So when you're looking, you can see it on their website or ask them directly.
Okay.
Another option is local training clinics. So some universities with psych programs often have clinics run by like supervised graduate students. Like I think my work is an example of that, where you can get kind of like you can get therapy with a trainee for cheaper, but they have supervisors. Like I have weekly supervision for my cognitive behavioral therapy cases, and I have weekly supervision for my psychodynamic therapy. So I have 2 different supervisors, and you're meeting weekly and discussing each patient's case. So even though you'd be working with a trainee, you're still getting like a supervisor.
Sounds like a good deal.
It is a good deal.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say.
Yeah.
Another website I found, we're not sponsored by this, but it looks like a really cool project. It's called Open Path Collective. It's a nonprofit dedicated to providing therapy at a low cost. It ranges between $40 to $70 per session, and this is without insurance. So that is like a big deal. I mean, that could be like some people's co-pays, for example.
Yeah.
And I looked online through like testimonials, and people were having positive experiences. So not sponsored, but it looks like a really good resource for people who don't have insurance.
Oh, that's great.
And then the last one are through like state or government funded community mental health centers. So you could just type in your city and then write community mental health centers. And those are often, they give you mental health resources for little to no cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So those are all options if you don't have insurance. So it's not the end if you don't have insurance.
Yes, that's great news.
Yeah.
Also, you just did all that very well. You said all of that very well.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel a lot more... Dude, it was so interesting. At this, I went to the APA, American Psychiatric Association conference, and there were so many talks on social media. And they were talking about like, what is your role as a mental health provider? And I think one of my big worries with doing this is I want to make sure I am clear and accurate. And I think with being accurate, it feels like sometimes you have to be nuanced and explain a lot more. But I think what I learned is that there's just so much awful information out there that if you can just kind of like even briefly talk about accurate information, like you're already doing people a service. And I feel less pressure to kind of be very like intensely granular on things and like really get down to the nitty gritty. I feel like the important thing is what are some quick takeaways people can get that is also engaging to people. I feel like that was the main reason we did this too, is like there's so much crap out there. And I feel like we have a responsibility to make it reliable and accurate information, but also like engaging, because people just, if you hear someone say something so like outright, like it's like inflammatory, like if you don't get 8 hours of sleep, you're gonna die at age 40 or something. It's like really intense statements. They really draw your attention. And like it's tough for me to come on here and say, well, there's like, you know, there's 1% of the population who actually might
needs
not
just
need
1
that.
hour. They'll die if they get 2.
And then there's hypomania, and there's you know, people with sleep disorders, and you need to be a little bit more regimented. Like I feel like there's a lot more. I could get a lot more granular. And I think the podcast allows us to get a little bit more granular, but I think it's also important that we have some kind of like brief snippets where we could just talk about things in a very brief way, where you don't need to give all the information, but some helpful, accurate information. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I also think that what you just said, like you broke down how to find a therapist. I think what's hard is also doing it. the actual
Yes.
it's like you almost need, I think a good idea is to maybe have like an accountability partner or something. Have someone be like, did you find a therapist today? You know, that kind of thing, because or even find a friend who needs a therapist too. And you guys can try to find one together, because I think when you're trying to do something for yourself and no one's depending on you to do it, if it's not an ultimatum, then it's really hard to do it.
I completely agree. And I love like body doubling, the accountability aspect. There's a website I use myself that I would also recommend to people. Is called FocusMate, where it's like a video chat with other people who have memberships, and you have like 25 or 50-minute sessions. And at the beginning of the session, you just tell each other, what is your goal for the next 25 minutes? What do you want to work on? And you both like say it outright. You mute yourselves, or you can keep your mic on, and then you just do that task. I feel like for things that I am like dreading doing or just not comfortable doing, like on my own, I will go to this website, and I feel like it's helped me so much. It's just even if it's like a virtual presence of just like that person who's there and just with you in some way, I think really drives the action forward. And I think having a friend for the specific task of finding a therapist, it feels a little more intimate, and like you know someone and they know you, and you both want to better yourselves. And I think that's like more, I don't know, it feels a little bit more fulfilling. Yeah. So I like that one a lot. Yeah.
So first, I guess, sign up for this FocusMate, and then you can find a therapist.
Then you can find your therapist. Exactly. Yeah. So many barriers. No, but I like the accountability one. I'm trying to think if there are other things that you can do. I mean, other things you can do to get that activation energy, get over that activation
Something
energy.
That's helped me too is music. I have realized is very powerful for me. And I have always, to me, it's like saying you love music is so dumb. Who doesn't like music? But it can really like turn my mood around. So if I do need to like get in the, like, you know, I hate taking the dishes out of the dishwasher. There's just certain things that just really bum me out if I don't have a tune playing.
Yeah.
So it really helps me to play music. So I wonder too if you just need to play that song to get you going, and you can play that while you're looking online, and it can kind of make it easier.
Yeah, that's a good one, and it reminds me. I feel like that's something I do too. Is just like washing the dishes, for example, is I will do that, and I'll set a timer. Like I have this like little cube timer on Amazon where
a real timer you use.
It's an actual concrete timer, and I like it because it's just like externalized, and I could just have it next to me. And depending on how you place it, it will change the amount of time on it.
Oh, that's fun.
So if I put it on one side, it'll just be 5 minutes. If I put it on another side, it's 10 minutes. So if I want to do something that I'm just not a fan of, I'll put it on a 5-minute timer, and I'll play like a 5-minute song or a 10-minute song. And then I'll just do it, and I'll be like, okay, once that timer is done, I'll be done with this task. And even if I don't finish it, even if I don't finish the task, I'm already doing it, so it's already a lot easier to finish, even though I didn't finish it in the allotted time. It doesn't even matter. I'm like doing it.
Right.
I have the momentum.
Just stop.
Or just stop. Yeah, I'm done.
That's all you could do.
Yep. I'm done. Yep. That's a good option too. So if you're finding a therapist, you can use FocusMate, you can use a timer, you can use music, just anything to get yourself going. Yeah.
So you've got your music playing, you got your timer going. Where are they actually? And you've got your FocusMate. Yeah. So you got all your people watching
so many
you.
Things going
you got so many things going to find your therapist. But where do you actually go?
Yes. So you can go to your insurance company's website. Right. If you don't do that, I'll name the directories you can go to.
Okay.
So you can go to psychologytoday.com. You can go to zencare.co, zocdoc.com, therapyden.com. Those are the 4 directories that I've had success with for patients. And then the last one I have is therapymatcher.org. This one is interesting because it doesn't have a directory, so you're not looking for individual therapists. How it works is you put in your name, your insurance company's information, and what you're looking for in a therapist, and they will email you back with a list of therapists that meet the criteria you're looking for.
That's nice.
It's nice because it takes out that search work, and these are already people who have the availability and cover your insurance company.
They matched with
They
you.
match with you. Your therapymatcher.org.
Great.
So those are the directories you can use. You can also ask your doctor, like your primary care doctor or your psychiatrist, if they have recommendations, and ask for a referral, and they'll give you numbers. We talked about insurance, and then we have the community options that you can just like Google.
I also think a good option is if you do know someone who has a therapist that they like, and if you don't feel comfortable seeing that therapist, I say just go see that therapist. But if not, see if that therapist has any therapist friends they recommend.
Yeah, because they might have had the same, like similar training that might work with.
They were all in the same cohort.
Oh,
you know.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So we were in the same cohort.
In comedy.
Yeah, but not in the medical school arena. No. But yeah, I guess that's an interesting topic, like the concept of asking your friend about their therapist. That I feel like the ethics of it maybe could get a little bit murky. Not ethics, but kind of the dynamics might get murky because it's like you and your friend both know that you had the same therapist and the same day, and maybe you two have interpersonal conflicts.
That's true. I mean, yeah. Wouldn't it be funny though if you're like, I just need to see your therapist so she can get my side of the story?
Yeah. Oh my. Yeah. If you two have beef.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that would be.
Yeah. Maybe don't do that.
Yeah. Don't do that. Or maybe. No.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't do it. So yeah, I feel like those are kind of the concrete ways you can find someone.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Well, but then what?
After you find them.
Yeah, let's say you find, or you don't even know if you're like, oh, this one does CBT or this one does what? How do I even know which one I want out of these? Let's say these ones match with me. Now what? Do I just look at which one I think is prettier? Or
I wouldn't recommend doing it through that way.
Okay. That's a different filter. Yeah.
I would say a good start would just be answering the question, what do you want help with? What is your goal for therapy? Therapists will ask you that during your session often. I ask that too. That gives me an answer of like, what is your main goal here? Because sometimes a patient enters a room and they're just like, fix this or fix me.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't even know what you want help with. Like, what are you looking for? So I think answering that question of what you want help with.
Don't say fix me.
Yeah, I wouldn't ask that.
What,
yeah.
Fix me?
With a question?
With a question.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Still no.
Yeah,
okay,
but a little bit closer. I would say, like, are you dealing with anxiety, depression, trauma, ADHD, relationship issues? Like, ask yourself, what is that thing that's most pressing to me right now? Or is it, like, are you also within that problem, do you want tools and strategies? Like, do you want coping skills? Or do you want to, like, dig into patterns in your life that you're noticing, like past and present? I feel like that could maybe dictate what kind of therapy you end up choosing or what might be a little bit more helpful for you or aligned with your goals, I would say.
We are brought to you by Pure Yoga TV, on-demand and live stream fitness and yoga classes. Get fit fast. Stay fit for a lifetime on your schedule. Choose from an ever-growing selection of classes, including hot yoga, vinyasa yoga, inferno hot Pilates, yoga hit, ashtanga, meditation, and even more. We all know that exercise helps mental health. Well, now you don't even need to leave your home to reap those benefits. For only $9.99 a month, you can get full access. Go to pureyogatexas.com/pure-yoga TV and become a member today.
So if you want something that's more structured and practical, like I'm having bad anxiety and I just want help coping with that and the skills to help with that, things like behavioral therapies like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, or ACT, which is acceptance and commitment-based therapy, those would be good options. And they're not just for coping skills. Like, they can also help provide you with a little bit more insight. But I think the focus is more so on what are the things I can do in this moment when I'm feeling particularly more overwhelmed.
And if anyone's listening to this and feeling overwhelmed about like, what do I even know? Like, I think it's okay to just meet with a therapist.
Yes.
I know that we're getting there, but like, I don't want anyone to feel so overwhelmed. Like, well, I don't even know what I need. I don't even know my problem. Like, I haven't been to therapy yet. How do I know what I'm dealing with?
Yeah.
So I kind of think sometimes you just kind of need to try out also different things to find out. And there's nothing wrong with that.
I totally agree with that. I feel like I wouldn't get bogged down by, oh, well, should I do ACT? Should I do CBT? Should I do DBT? Should I do psychodynamic? Should I do trauma informed? I feel like if this is especially if your first time finding a therapist, I feel like just getting an understanding of what is your goal.
Yeah.
I think that should be your primary focus rather than what modality you're using or what type of therapy you're using. Because what you'll find is I would say most therapists that you'll find online are not doing a clean-cut one type of modality or therapy type. The therapists who use all the different modalities, they say they're like integrative or interdisciplinary. Kind of like when you mix those fountain drinks, get a little bit of Diet Coke and Sprite. It's like that, except for therapy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think and we talked about this, we've talked about what we learned in our stand-up comedy class, the most important thing.
The relationship with the audience.
And I think the most important thing about therapy is the relationship with your therapist. I think instead of worrying too much about, which Dr. Pepper they're putting in their soda, although I'm just thinking about Dr. Pepper, it was really lucky if you got Dr. Pepper. Well, not in Texas, it was more available, but anytime I see Dr. Pepper in the fountain, it's just so exciting. But anyway, because I think you have to trust that person first and foremost. I mean, it can take a while. You shouldn't just automatically trust someone. But I think finding a good therapist is sort of like how you feel with them and talking to them. And if you want to share with them, I think those are like very good green flags of like, I feel comfortable talking to you. I've heard some people say, oh, my therapist doesn't talk enough, or like I want them to ask more questions, or I don't even know what to talk about. I think that can take some time to get to know one another. I also think it's okay because it's your therapist, and I want you to remember that you're paying them and that you can tell them, I need you to talk more. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like you can say like, I feel uncomfortable. This is making me uncomfortable. I wish you were like this. Or honestly,
I like that advice a lot. I wasn't even thinking of it from like a payment perspective.
Yeah.
I think like that is important for you to bring up those thoughts that you're having that are keeping you from getting deeper into your own work. When you are having thoughts that are preventing you from disclosing more with your therapist, that is a barrier to your treatment to some degree. It's a defense that you have. And even exploring that like could be really fruitful in the therapy session. Like, why do I feel a little less comfortable even today? Or with you, was it something that you said or something you did or the way you reacted to some kind of information? All of that could be very fruitful to even talk about in therapy.
Yeah.
And I would say like when that's happened in my sessions, I welcome it. I think it's like it creates such good fodder for the therapy. And if you're not disclosing it, then you're sitting with some kind of like restrictions and defenses, and there's less to talk about even. Yeah. So I think that's an awesome point.
Yeah. And it takes a while, for your therapist to even maybe know what you're like. I think I've shared this with you, but like my favorite therapist for a while, like she figured out that I didn't feel comfortable expressing anger to people. So after working with each other for a while, she was like, you can be angry at me if you don't like that. And I was like, nope, because I didn't want it. But that's not something she's going to know right away.
No,
that
it takes time.
A long time.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's so hard for people too is like, does this just need time or is this just not the right fit?
Yeah.
But I think if you feel safe with your therapist and you feel like also there are really good boundaries, I think that's means that you might just need more time.
Yeah. I think I like the idea of you being comfortable with the therapist. One point I want to kind of emphasize to make things like, I think there's a difference between being comfortable and being complacent. With therapy, at the beginning, you're building rapport and building a relationship and you feel comfortable with things. That comfort can sometimes lead to feeling complacent and also being afraid of being challenged to some degree.
Okay.
And
I see that.
I think it's important to have a therapist who you feel comfortable with, and that they can also, because you have that relationship, challenge some of the thoughts that you're having that might be maladaptive to you. And I think if it's done in a very artful way and in a way where it shows that they still have your best interest in mind, I think that is kind of like, you can have the most fruitful therapy sessions with that. So I think like it's good to be comfortable. I think it's also, if you feel challenged at times,
That's okay.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're right. And I also think being comfortable in therapy is hard at first as well. Like that's not great advice for everybody, because someone's like, how am I going to feel comfortable in a room with a stranger? Like that's not, I guess it's just kind of like if you also like the person, maybe that's it too. It's like, because you're going to have to spend time with them.
Yeah. If I despise,
If you dislike or despise or like get a weird feeling, like that's not good.
yeah. I would say if it's consistent, like over like a long period of time, and there are multiple frequent times, even earlier on, where you're getting this feeling like, am I being like antagonized, or being disrespected, or if like the therapist is like kind of talking a lot about their own experiences too much, and they're not kind of focusing it more back on your own circumstances, I feel like those are some reasonable concerns, especially if they're consistent patterns.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. No, I'm glad we talked about that. I feel like those are, I'm glad we talked about it, because I feel like those are consistent, like those are consistent things that come up during therapy, and you have the question of like, is that normal? Is that not normal? So
if you find, let's say you find someone that you're like, okay, I think I want to take the next step with them. What can you ask? Or like, if you have that, because you can, they should all be able to do that free phone call, right? Consult. Let's say you got the top 3. I'm going to do a consult with the top 3 because those are free, right? And you can kind of get the feel for each of them before you actually sit down and do a session. Are there questions that you can like ask each one to kind of figure them out?
Yeah. So when you have the consult calls, I feel like some important questions to ask yourself and also ask the therapist are, how do you typically work with people dealing with X problem? What's your approach to therapy? How often do you meet? And also just like, what's your fee? And also that's a good opportunity to ask about the sliding scale. This is a good one. Do you actually take the insurance listed on your website?
Yeah.
I'll talk about my own experiences with therapy. I've had it where I find someone on a directory and they're not necessarily taking the insurance provider that is listed on their website. It might have been accurate before, but not now. So also just confirm that they are taking the insurance company that they say that they are taking.
Okay, so let's say you've narrowed it down to you've matched with a few therapists. You've got your top 3 or 4. Now how do you now decide?
You've made your BuzzFeed list of your potential therapists, but what do you do now?
Right.
First thing I would do is do multiple consult calls.
Okay.
So for a lot of therapists, you're allotted a free 20-minute session where you can ask them kind of like what their approach is and ask them multiple questions, and they might ask you what you're looking for. Have conversations with a few of them so you can get a sense of like how they address things, how they approach different situations, how they speak with you. What is the feeling that you're getting with speaking with them? If are they kind, compassionate, curious about your experience? I feel like those are good things to look out for. And you can do it with a few of them, and you're not stuck with booking with that therapist after the consult call. You can have a conversation with them and see how you feel, and then decide if you want to move forward with them. That conversation in itself might help you decide whether you want to move forward with them.
I think so. I
Yeah.
think that would help a lot.
Yeah. So
I know. I go right off the bat.
You'd go right off the bat?
Well, if you give me 3 therapists and I get 20-minute consults with each of them, I know which one I'm going with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you look for in a therapist?
I want them to understand my references.
What are your references?
My references are, if I want them to be very well versed in television. I want them to understand. Not actually, they don't have to be anymore. There was a time where I think I really valued one therapist because I felt like she got me, like she got my sense of humor, and that was very important. But now I don't think I necessarily I don't need that validation maybe from someone. I would more so be, I think also what I really appreciate, and sometimes I do this on this podcast and I don't know if I'm overdoing it, but when you say things, I go, like I make that.
When I go like that?
No, when I think I do it sometimes, which,
Oh, it's like it's second nature to me.
I know, and
Yeah.
I love it, and I like when therapists do it, and you can kind of tell when they really care how they're doing it. I think sometimes for me, I'm on this podcast, I don't necessarily maybe need to be doing it as much as I do, but you comment if I'm doing it too much, please, and don't actually, and but. Yeah, I think that would how they respond. If they're really active listening to me, and I think I don't know. I think you can kind of tell.
Yeah. So I think you can too. Like if they are really interested and curious about your experience, I think you can pick that up. You said you were paying attention to how you do it.
No, I meant just I'm now aware that how I do it.
How you do it, but
because I've thought about how other people do it.
I
and
see.
Specifically therapists. I'm like, because it's just a human thing.
Yeah.
But some people can be a lot more empathetic, I think, with it than others.
I remember in med school, we have standardized patient encounters. So these are actors that are paid to play patients. And they know their script of this is the disease I have and these are my symptoms. And they would rate us after our encounter. So we would get in our report card what they said about us. And it was the first time that I received feedback that the actors felt, they said I felt very heard with you, especially when you furrowed your brow.
Oh, wow.
And I was furrowed my brow.
I have too.
Yeah. But I think I have thick eyebrows.
You do.
But I was like, oh wow, what a weird comment to say. So I went to my friend group and I was like, yeah, I got this comment that I furrowed my brow, and my friend was like, dude, yes, you furrow your brow. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And I feel like the subtle things like that can really show that you are listening.
Yes. But if you're trying to learn how to listen, don't purposely furrow your brow. We're on to you.
I'm so glad you said that. That is for sure a thing. I feel like I see, oh my gosh. I have seen some medical professionals do kind of an artificial brow furrow as oh, this will show them that I am listening intently. And I feel like it's been I'll be having a conversation and then they'll just I'm going to ask you an intrusive question right now, but because I'm furrowing my brow, it
I'm
shows
interested.
that I really care. And when I see that, oh my gosh, it's
no, you're asking too much information.
Yeah.
It's none of your business.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's so interesting because I think although these are subtle things, it's so interesting how you can really tell if it is sincere or not.
Yes.
And I'm so glad we can. Yeah.
So yeah, I have a question, and maybe you can even, if you're listening to this, we can even like link it in the notes so you have these questions. But you came up with certain questions you can ask a therapist to sort of get to know them on these consult calls. So it's not just like, what part of town are you in? You know, which is important too if you're going to go see them in person.
Yeah.
But so what are these questions you came up with?
Yeah. So a few questions you can ask is, how do you typically work with people dealing with X, which would be the problem you're coming to see the therapist for? 2, what's your approach to therapy? That'll help give information on what modalities or what types of therapy they use, like CBT, ACT, DBT. 3, how often do you meet and what's your session fee? And that's a good opportunity to ask what insurance they take and also if they have sliding scale. And then 4, do you actually take the insurance listed on your website? Because I've had it in my own experience. I will look for a therapist with my insurance and it says it on their website or on one of the directories, but they don't actually take that insurance information or that insurance.
It's hard to update websites.
It is. Have you had that?
Well, it's not, that hasn't happened to me, but I just know having to update a website with my show dates. I'm like, yeah, there's some old ones still on there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So they're not doing it either. So I feel like those are some like concrete questions you can ask.
Those are great.
Yeah.
And I had mentioned, finding someone that you're comfortable with, and that's okay. That's not asking too much.
No. Yeah. I think
because like I think I'm at a, sorry to cut you off again. I think I'm at a place where I'm pretty sure I prefer a woman. I had a male therapist when I was younger and I loved him and he was great, and I think I could have a male again, but I think there are I think it's okay to be open-minded.
Yeah.
Too, like maybe have a consult call with maybe a male, even if you don't think you want that.
Yeah.
Because I have a male gynecologist, never thought that would happen, and I love him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what do you think about that?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great topic. I feel like it's so important to have that comfort and think about what are those identities that bring you that comfort. Like, is it their sexual orientation? Is it their ethnicity? Is it their gender? Or is it their approach? Like, do you prefer that they're a little bit more direct? Do you prefer that they're a little bit more kind of like just a little more conversational? Those are all things that might dictate whether you're comfortable or not. One thing you mentioned about the gender question is interesting because it really varies. Like, you can have examples where people have had, let's say you have a woman who has had past trauma involving a man, and there is some consequent like avoidance of men or strong feelings towards men. It could be therapeutic to have a safe male presence.
Sure.
Like, that could be its own type of therapy. So sometimes it might feel a little bit more uncomfortable, but might have its own type of therapeutic benefit.
Yeah.
So it's complicated, but
but that would be something you would talk to the therapist about.
Yes, exactly.
If that's if that would be the right fit.
Yeah,
or whatever.
exactly.
You might need to first see a female therapist just to get up to working with a male therapist.
Sure. Yeah.
In that situation.
Yeah, it's non-linear.
And it's like you're not picking a partner for life.
Yes. Yeah. Great point.
This is a season. It's also, if you don't know what you want, you might learn like a year down the line, actually I think I need to work with someone else, and it doesn't mean that year didn't count.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like some people feel like when they start therapy this is it, I'm with this person for the rest of my life, and that is so not the case. Like, you can have sessions and you can switch therapists. That might happen down the line regardless because of insurance change or whatever, or you move, but it's okay to try and not move forward. I would at least try and just do it, like, have at least a few sessions just to really determine, like, what your comfort level is, and it really could be beneficial to just trying a little bit more, like going a few more sessions. And don't worry about getting it perfect. If you find one and it's not working out after you've gone those few sessions, it's completely okay to switch. You're not tied to the same person. It's okay to shop around, and it's okay to end if it's not working out. Yeah.
And you don't take it personally.
No.
You don't feel bad about breaking up with the therapist or anything like that.
This happens.
Yes.
This happens. It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. SSRI'M OK is produced by Dr. Bijan Zarrabi and Macey Isaacs, with artwork by Zoe Zaxon and music by Raul Garcia, edited by Katie Hedenbach. Special thanks to our sponsor, Pure Yoga TV. The information provided in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Always seek the advice of a qualified mental health or medical provider with any questions you may have regarding a psychiatric or medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you've heard on this podcast. The views and opinions expressed by the guests and hosts are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of their affiliated hospitals or medical facilities. While we make every effort to broadcast correct information, we are still learning. We will double-check all of our facts, but realize that medicine and psychiatry are constantly changing. We welcome any comments, suggestions, or corrections of errors. Lastly, any humor or satire used in this podcast is not intended to trivialize or minimize the seriousness of mental health issues. Listener discretion is advised.